That's okay there? Om Bhadrang. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinnavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. After this long introduction to Amrita Bindu Upanishad, we are now entering into the Upanishad itself. And as I said, the Upanishads are attached to the different Vedas. So 4 Vedas, each one has 1, 2, 3 or many Upanishads attached to each one. We saw that. And we also ascertained that the Amrita Bindu Upanishad that we are about to embark upon belongs to what? Atharva Veda. Atharva. Atharva is the name of the seer who saw the mantras given by Bhagavan, given by God, saw the mantras and collected those mantras. So it is all the Vedas, and all the scriptures really are revealed to sages in meditation. So that is basically what this Veda is also about, revealed. Revealed means there is no possibility of mistake. That is what the whole thing is. Otherwise anybody could just come up with anything and say that this is what we are all going to do. Like that what's that that Queen of France, she was told that the people are in great poverty. There is no bread to eat. And she said, why? Let everyone eat cake, Make a law that everybody should just have cake, When there is no bread, where is the cake going to come from? And so, like that, you can't just have something whimsical in the name of that which is the ultimate knowledge that is going to guide us to the Veda itself. If you take that which is going to guide us to a better life, and the Upanishad that which is going to remove sorrow, my goodness, that cannot have any streak of fallibility. So because it is infallible, it is worth studying, it is worth looking into, because it is not come from sources quote unquote man-made, woman-made, etc. Right? Yeah. So it is safe from human fallibility and intervention. So that is what the Atharva Veda, Rig Veda, all of them. Why there are 4? Because different regions of India practice certain things even till today. South India we have more Krishna Yajurveda and Rig Veda. Some Atharva Veda is there, Sama Veda. And in the north, Shukla Yajurveda predominates. Very, very nice, very beautiful. If you just map out the ways in which the different Vedas are followed, they are all the same really, because they have the same message to give, but in a different method, that's all. And so the Atharva Veda, is credited with having a lot of Upanishads attached to it. Yeah. Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, 3 quote unquote major Upanishads, correct? And then a lot, Kaivalya Upanishad and a lot of other smaller Upanishads are connected to the Atharva Veda. And this one also is connected to Atharva Veda, but by certain reckoning, they put it with Krishna Yajurveda also. So that's why we say both the mantras. And today we are about to learn how to chant. So this is a free chanting class, or not free, what is that? Unauthorized, not off the cuff, unauthorized chanting class. And so we are going to learn how to chant this invocatory prayer to the Atharva Veda. recall, however, that this is not a prayer for the Upanishad. This is a prayer to study the Veda itself. Every Veda has a invocatory prayer called Shanti Patha. Shanti comes from Sham, to resolve. And to resolve what? The mind, of course. That is our main problem, And to resolve the mind, and keep it free of obstacles, all kinds of obstacles in the form of wrong perceptions, etc. That is the Shanti Patha. And the person who is about to embark upon the study of the Veda, you don't need to be disturbed. Once you sit down, you don't get up. You don't need to be disturbed. Because when the disturbances come, they are called vignas. Vignas means disturbance. And that's not a nice thing, because here I am about to embark on a serious study, and then something comes and hijacks me away from the study. Not nice. And so therefore, this is something we have to, we have to control. How to control the disturbance? Are we able to control anything? No. We can't even control our thoughts. What is going to be your next thought? Please tell me. Huh? Nobody knows. Nobody knows what you are going to think now, next. God alone knows. We don't know what you are going to think next. And so therefore, we can't control anything, whether it is outside or within. You can't control. You can't control your surroundings. You can't control what is, so-called acts of God in terms of hurricane, tsunami, all these things. You don't know when they are going to happen. And you can't control the surroundings. You may say that the classroom is nice, but I don't like the people in it. What to do? Or the people are nice, but I don't like the color combination of the classroom. That's why online study is the best. You don't have to deal with all these things. You don't even have to deal with me. That is very nice. It is safe. So this is something wonderful. See, we try to have Shanti through online Patha. Yeah, you don't have to deal with me or idiosyncrasies that I may have. Free in the comfort and the color combinations that please you in your own home, in the chair that pleases you. You can sit and relax and listen. But still there can be vignas. Still there can be obstacles. Somebody wrote saying that I can't take the class because my computer broadband is not high enough. I'm not able to do that. So, see, this is a vigna. And somebody else said, I received an email recently, computer is fine, no problem, but something is wrong with the sound. As soon as I log on, the sound is not working, and I even had 2 experts look at the computer. They say everything is fine. Every other site, I can go and watch Hindi movies, the sound will come on. But as soon as I turn on your Vedanta class, sound is not coming on. Vignani, vignas, lot of vignas. These are obstacles. Yeah. Obstacles not to seeing Bollywood movies, no problem. Sound is coming, the video is not, hanging up, freezing, nothing. But only with Vedanta, the hang-ups are happening. So what to do? So we have to resort to prayer big time. The fact that this is even worked for so long. See, so many sessions of Amrita Bindu Upanishad we successfully had without the prayer. That means that we are really blessed. But we can't go on. We can't go on taking for granted. So at some point, we have to learn and chant the prayer specific for this. And then the question is asked, even before we enter the prayer, who is the prayer directed towards? What is the answer? Where all prayer goes. To Bhagavan, to Ishvara, to God, that's where it goes. Yeah. And that source being only one, all prayers go to that alone. It cannot go anywhere else. You cannot say, it would be illogical to say, for example, there is only one God, therefore don't pray to other gods. If there is only one God, how can I possibly pray to other gods? It's physically impossible. If there is only one God, then everything goes to that source only, that nameless, formless source. And within the Hindu tradition, we have a certain, certain way in which that nameless, formless one is invoked through various manifestations. Why? Because it's easier for the people who are, how can you relate to the formless? You can't really, it's very difficult. It requires a lot of, maturity. And really speaking, the only way to relate to the formless is to include yourself and see the whole from that standpoint of oneness, which requires a lot of emotional maturity. And for the masses, for people who are not there yet, for people who need to relate to something, we see, Bhagavan, Ishvara, God, as both immanent and transcendental. Immanent, not imminent, okay, immanent. Imminent also, but right now, immanent. It's a particular kind of a way of looking at it. Immanent means, manifest as the universe. Because if there is only one God and that God is just non-separate from the universe, this is our understanding, and is manifest, did not just create but manifested as the very creation itself. Tad, tad asrijata, tad anupravishata. Created, and then as it were, the presence of that Bhagavan entered the whole universe in all the forms. So the whole universe is not, is not devoid of the presence of Bhagavan. You can see everything, because everything is sacred and holy, because it is created by the Lord, one, and because it is non-separate. The presence of the Lord is still there in the creation. So that presence is called immanent. But then if you say, you can't say you can't say Bhagavan is tree. That doesn't sound right. How can God be tree? So therefore we say that it is transcendental. But what about the tree? That tree is not without the presence of Bhagavan, but Bhagavan transcends the tree. Because in order to be nameless and formless, so all names and forms are sustained by whom? Itself free of all of them. That is what the understanding is. And so the Shanti Patha has a number of advantages. Patha means the invocation, the reading, the study, and the enunciation, the repetition. And then Shanti, exclusively for the sake of peace, which is defined as freedom from disturbance. Freedom from all kinds of disturbance within and without. So this Shanti Patha, all the Shanti Pathas have many advantages. Many advantages. The first thing is that it calms the person down enough to be able to sit and listen, because these are given by the Vedas and they have certain up and down swaras. Om Sahana Vavatu, see, like that. And so in that up and down, which may appear to the un-Vedic ear, somebody who's not used to that, as some kind of a sing-song, up and down tune. But that tune has with it the blessings of the seers who saw these mantras, and were able to enunciate them exactly how they saw them. And in that tonal, because Sanskrit is a tonal language, and at least used to be, and so in that tonal, innotations, the notations, there is some kind of a sweeping happening, a subtle sweeping action, the power of that nada, the power of that enunciated sound. So it's not accidental how the sounds are put together, and it's not accidental what tones are assigned to the particular sounds. And that's why there is no room for just saying that I will not say it just like it is articulated, I will sing the mantra instead. Yeah, there is a pratha, there is very much a, infiltrated custom of singing Gayatri mantra. I feel like closing my ears, A mantra is not supposed to be sung, it is supposed to be chanted. You can't just put your own tunes. Especially a Vedic mantra. So the swaras are there, and it is fixed in its meter, it is fixed in certain ways, and the tones are also fixed because they have a healing, sweeping way where all the, it's a blessing. So all the things, the disturbances and obstacles that can come are just swept away by the enunciated tones, not just by reading it. By the enunciated tones, all the disturbances and obstacles are just gone. So that is the first one. Second, first advantage. Number two, it is a prayer, correct? And all prayers have a result, because prayer is an action, and it's an action of invocation. And so the prayer is always having an answer. Bhagavan doesn't just sit and say, keep praying. Prayer will be given an answer. Of course, sometimes the answer is no, but we don't want to hear that. Every prayer is answered. This prayer will also be answered, and especially a collective prayer. And when we chant it all together, it's going to be very effective, because we are doing it from all over the world, from both the hemispheres. It's very fantastic, it's going to be. And so therefore the power of collective prayer cannot be, cannot be underscored enough. Because if one person is chanting, it's like one broom sweeping, and then if 100 people are chanting, it's a very, very clean atmosphere, appropriate for the study, correct? Yeah. So it's a prayer. So the prayer is for being able to study. That's really the prayer. Why do I need prayer to study? I signed up without the prayer. When I signed up for the course, one may argue, I did not say, oh Lord, help me. I just signed up, it looked good. I said, okay, 1 month I'm going to study. It looked interesting, so I signed up. So if I was able to sign up on my own volition and according to my own desires, then why bring in God now, So far it has gone fine. You know the secret of why it has gone fine? Because we have been doing the other Shanti Patha. Sahana Bhavatu mantra is there. That's why it has gone fine. And otherwise it would not be fine, it would be finite. Simple. Small difference, but big difference. So therefore, the argument that I did not pray then, why should I pray now? In fact, the more we know, the more prayerful one becomes. You can't help it. It's not that the more you know, the more Vedantin you become encrusted in your own wholeness like a pakoda, dipped in that wholeness. And no, you're not encrusted in that wholeness and you're just above everything else. No, lowly mortals here, and good for nothings there, ye masses over there, and I am just a very fantastic finished glazed pakoda. No. That's not how it is. In fact, the more one knows, the more humble one becomes, and the more dedicated and reverential, more of a bhakta one becomes. Only difference is one is a jnani bhakta, not a, not a bhakta. Bhakta means devotee. Not a devotee who keeps asking for things, but a devotee from the standpoint of knowledge. So the more you know, wherever you see, whatever you see, wherever you see, there is just the presence of God. You see nothing but God. That's all it is. And that's the vision of the Upanishads. That you get to that place of, seeing the presence of God in everything, recognizing that in everything, in all the things that you encounter. So that is what the study is. And then the obstacles, in fact, are too many. Yeah, too many obstacles. Some of them are subtle. What is an example of a subtle obstacle? I don't feel like attending class. Why? I don't know, but I don't feel like it, okay? Yeah, subtle obstacle. And if you ask the person why, they will say they don't know. They just don't know. There's just this sudden urge. Animals also have the urge. Certain urges are there. The dog suddenly wants to bark, without any impetus, nothing. It feels like barking, it barks. Neighbors have to be patient, that's all. What else to do? And then, the cat feels like clawing something, sudden urge. It could be the new curtain that you have installed, it could be the couch, it could be, if nothing is available, your own leg, doesn't matter. So like this, the sudden urge to not study and to just not even get out of bed and not attend the classes, that is there. Why? Because ultimately we have prakrita buddhi, prakrita buddhaya. Prakrita means, nature made. Yeah. So it's that desire which one has cultivated to study, with great painstakingly cultivated, suddenly is eroded by some bestial, tendency that takes over. Tamasic tendency that takes over. End of argument. What else to do? Correct? So this is that's a big vigna, but expressed in a subtle form. All right, I am attending, but my mind is elsewhere. Where is your mind? I don't know. It's gone. If I knew, I would tell you. Just don't know. Very difficult to focus. As soon as I just sit down and say I'm going to focus, suddenly I feel like eating popcorn. Why? Because whenever I watch a video, I have to have popcorn. Yeah, swaha. Yeah. So here I am watching your video and now I feel like popcorn. All these days I kept quiet. Somehow I resisted it. Now I suddenly feel like popcorn. Yeah, it's like a Vedanta movie. Hey, what is that called? A soap. Because every day it's continuing. Yeah, soap, right? That's what. Yeah, it's a Vedanta soap. And so, whenever I watch something, and if I don't have it, because you said don't multitask, all these things, you gave these rules, refrain from eating, drinking, all these things. And while attending class, all right, theek hai. I'm not doing all that. I have tied the hands behind the back. But my mind cannot get off that popcorn. Which is so easy to make. That's why it's called popcorn. I have to pop it in the microwave and then it is ready. Hot, nice on these cold days. Feels good. Healthy too. You just put some, they put something on it to make it healthy. What is that? What is that? Nutritional yeast. Put some yeast on it and then you can say a lot of vitamin B needed for Shravanam, and then, and so even though the popcorn is not with you, it is somewhere there in the cupboard, but just thinking about it, very difficult to focus. Another subtle, so the body is there, ready to study, the mind is elsewhere, having a little dalliance in the pantry cupboard where all the snacks are kept. It is doing an inventory. What will I have afterwards? So, another obstacle, correct? Yeah. So the first obstacle, body is also not here. Mind, of course, is not here. The mind has overtaken the desire to study. And here, the body is here, the mind is saying, come, let's take a tour of all the dabbas in the kitchen. Murukku, and so many things are kept. And let us just tour all the snacks. So, this is another obstacle. And sometimes the obstacles are not so subtle. Something happens, one cannot attend class. Somebody is sick, somebody is, needs help. And all these are obstacles. Prasabham haranti, with great force they take one away from the flow of the knowledge. And therefore, we cannot have enough prayer. The prayer produces merit, correct? Punya means even if the prayer is not immediately answered, because one prayed, one gets some merit. And that merit, insulates one from these types of obstacles. That is what the whole idea is. Because the life itself is an obstacle course. And a Vedantic life is obstacle course multiplied into 10. Yes. Why? Because it is one's own duritas. Duritas means one's own karmas that come in the way of what? Of leading one's life. That come in the way of leading one's life. This is what, karma is what is ordained. One has to, prarabdham ihatu bhujyatam. Where have we heard this? Sadhana panchakam. So, prarabdham means whatever is assigned to me by the Lord in return for whatever things that I have done which are wrong, all my wrongdoings. So this is what has been given to me, that I have to endure. I have to endure what is in my, bhaga. Bhaga means what is in my portion. I have to endure. And part of that portion is what? Some things that take me away from the most auspicious thing in my life, the study and the nearness, the oneness, etc. to this auspicious study and the oneness with Bhagavan. That is what is part of that. So bhujyatam means I have to endure. And then what does that mean? So I stop coming to class, I keep enduring. No, I have the courage to endure, but I put a little petition on my behalf. I petition because Bhagavan is all compassion, correct? And yes, I know that this is my own wrongdoing, that I'm enduring because of this, I'm having all these obstacles. But what is the prayer for? Because how did this result come? Because of previous actions, correct? Those previous actions which were not in keeping with dharma are giving this sad state of affairs where I am unable to pursue Vedanta, correct? For whatever reasons, subtle or not so subtle. And so therefore, my petition is in the form of a prayer for Bhagavan to accept new karma, to be able to new karma. Karma here means action. So here is my new action. I am ready to atone in the form of these new action of prayer, so that all that old karma is dissipated. If not dissipated totally, lessened through the compassion, through Bhagavan, which is all compassion. This is what it is. And so I put a little petition here on my own behalf. Yes, I know that there are all unsaid and subtle and gross obstacles coming in my way, but please remove them so that I can make a start, or at least please neutralize some of them. Because the prayer itself is a new action that inoculates against all the old papas. Papas means the demeritorious actions, the results of actions that have come and that keep unfolding. And so I inoculate myself, I vaccinate myself and do something on my own behalf. See, this is why we don't accept that karma is fatalistic. It's not fatalistic. Neither fatal nor fatalistic. Yeah. Because I am proactive agent. Because prayer is an active agency on my behalf to invoke that compassion of the Lord in order to revoke some of these previous difficulties. And so therefore it becomes a very powerful intervention, the Shanti mantra. And then even if the mind is thinking of popcorn, suddenly popcorn doesn't sound good after chanting Sahana Bhavatu. You pop the corn right there, pop goes the corn, and it's no longer in the mind, and the mind is able to focus wonderfully, very nicely. So therefore, we have a prayer here. I just had it open with the file. Here it is. So we have a prayer here which is very beautiful, and we are going to chant it and then learn the meaning also. So you can repeat after me. Om Bhadram Karnebhihi Shrynayama Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Tushtuvagam Sastanubhihi. Chant with more confidence. You know this. Yeah. Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti nah Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati'r dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Yeah. So, very beautiful. Bhadram starts with Om. All the Shanti prayers start with Om. Om is a sound of blessing, and Om is a sound of completion. Om is a name of the Lord. One of the names of Bhagavan is Om. And so we start on the right foot properly. Om. And this Om is, already when you say Om, it dissipates a lot of, other things that are not needed. Om is a cleanser. And then, Devaha, vocative case, plural, and of course in the regular translations it is, oh gods. No, no gods. It is, even though it is plural, Devaha here means Dyotanatmakatvat, shining beings. Yeah, shining beings. What are these shining beings? Shining beings in the form of those forces of Bhagavan that help us to see, that help us to hear. Why are they shining? Because they are, the sense organs. They are, they have quote unquote borrowed the shine of the Lord. That Lord is all consciousness, all presence, all knowledge. And so here the eyes have little knowledge, ears have little knowledge. They have borrowed from that knowledge only, because where else will they go? And then they are functioning according to the laws of Bhagavan. Correct? Because what is the law? If there is a ear, it will hear. Except if it is a ear of corn. Yeah. Correct? So wherever there are ears, they hear. And then you can look at the ear of the dog, it goes like this when it's listening to the master. And then certain ears go like that, like this, they flap around. And some ears have lids, they come with a lid, sealed lid. Our ears don't have lids. That's why we have to be extra careful what goes in. That's why this prayer. So ears come in all kinds of, things. Ears of the cow, ears of the dog, cat, all these things. And then sometimes the ears are just two holes, in the reptiles, birds, etc. But still they hear. So there is some kind of an auditory thing happening. And if there is disturbance in the hearing, because there is some problem, that also is part of the order. Yet another order, the order of karma. So basically, what we are, here, O Devaha, we are talking to the Adhishthana Devatas of the sense organs. Adhishthana means presiding forces that control the efficacious functioning of all our sense organs. It's not, oh gods, no. Devaha means that shining ability. Shining means because they bring things to light. Yeah, that's why they are shining. The eyes, the ears, etc., they bring things to light. They make things evident to me which are not evident. So, therefore, this is I invoke that force of Bhagavan, which is, Adhishthana Devatas, the deities who are manifest as the deities that help the efficacious functioning of all my jnanendriyas and karmendriyas, the sense organs and the organs of action. Because not a leaf blows, without the wind itself is part of this whole action. So we have a very sophisticated understanding of how all these forces function and how these forces are non-separate from the source. The force is non-separate from the source. That is how we have a very sophisticated understanding. Like if we take Vayu, for example, what is Vayu? It is there. It is wind. It's one of the 5 elements. That is also made by Bhagavan, correct? And not only made by Bhagavan, that is a manifestation of Bhagavan. That's why we can say Namaste Vayo, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi in another Shanti mantra. You are the very manifestation of Bhagavan. We can say that. And then something interesting happens when you breathe in. Outside, Vayu. What happened just now? What is here?
Brahma.
Brahma. Prana. Inside, it has a new name. There it was just Vayu. Now it is my prana. The word my comes, the possessive case comes here. My prana. So this Vayu and then my prana. It is converted into my prana. and then I exhale, it is Vayu again. So that, so we see Ishvara at every step. Prano vai Ishvaraha, that which fills up my lungs, and and once the Vayu goes, why should it come out? Tell me. Yeah. Yeah, why should it come out? It can say, what has this person accomplished? All these years, the person is a useless fellow, I'm not coming out. I'm sitting tight. That's what is called last breath, okay? Yeah. He took his last breath. In obituaries and all, we see that. Took his last breath means it did not come out. Yeah. Stayed put. Then it will do that, but not before time, correct? There is also a certain kind of a law there. That once it goes in, it comes out effortlessly, easily, until it doesn't come out, of course. So, my breath is connected to the 5 elements, really. In fact, it is dependent upon them, and from the standpoint of that which is within the lungs, that sustains and bathes all the cells with oxygen, renews them and makes them alive. From that standpoint, that breath is what? Ishvara. That breath is the presence of Ishvara, blessing my lungs, blessing this whole body to be alive in the moment. To be awake at least, if not alive. So, to be awake, to be alive, and this is what is the blessing. And then the Vayu has 5 elements, that itself is also blessing, correct? That is also Bhagavan. This is also the presence of Bhagavan. And then the force and that source which links these 2 forces together, the connection between Vayu and Prana, that subtle connection, that is also a manifestation of Bhagavan. So from the standpoint of my prana, it is Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika means Atmanam Adhikritya Tishtati. Adhyatmikam. So meaning it is centered on I. Adhibhautikam, Vayu centered on the surroundings. Bhutanam Adhikritya Tishtati. And then Adhideva, Adhidaivikam means the force remains with Bhagavan. It is a manifestation of Bhagavan. That source is revealed as non-separate from this force. We have a very sophisticated understanding of Ishvara, of the Lord, as directly, connected to me in every form, not just in the form of the breathing, in every form. And here, the breathing is not talked about. What is talked about is the sense of hearing. The sense of hearing is a blessing from Bhagavan, correct? That I can hear the subtle sounds, the gross sounds, the chirpings of the birds. And then here the prayer is a very wonderful prayer. Bhadram means auspicious. Only the auspicious things may we hear. Bhadram Sriniyama Devaha. O shining beings that bring this gift of hearing from the Lord to us in the form of my own ears and in the form of the ear, Shrotrasya Shrotram, that makes this hearing possible. The ear hears, correct? But the dead person's ear doesn't hear. Why? Because what is responsible for the hearing to come to light is the ear of the ear, which is Bhagavan. So that which helps me hear, I have a special prayer. And what is that prayer? Bhadram Srinuyama. May we hear, collective prayer, may we hear only that which is auspicious. This is a preparation for the study. Because otherwise, things come. You know what happened? I heard somebody talking about you. Oh, what? About me? What did you hear? Well, they were saying you're not such a good person. Oh, how could they say that? After all I have done for them. And this is our non-Vedanta life. If this is our non-Vedanta life, then coming to Vedanta, those whisperings, the effects of those whisperings are very toxic. They don't prepare the mind for the knowledge, because the mind and the ears are connected. How are they connected? Because whatever is heard goes to the mind. That's why we have to mind what we hear. Okay? We have to be mindful of what we hear. So this is a prayer for preparing myself to study. Not just today, every single day. So therefore the prayer is chanted loudly or silently every single day. Someone embarking upon the tradition of this teaching, entering the teaching, has no business either with listening to or repeating the gossip. So whenever there is any hint of gossip, you just have to walk away. You push off with the grace of the Lord. You just leave, vacate that space and go away. Otherwise, it causes static interference when the Vedanta is being listened to. So may we hear all that is auspicious. So it's a very physical prayer, because I have to be present fully, physically, mentally, emotionally. I have to be present. So the limbs all have to cooperate. Certain limbs have to be active in the Vedanta class. What are they? Ears, primarily. But then the ears are not just falling out of the sky. They are connected to the mind. Mind has to be active. And the ears are connected to the head. The head has to be straight. It cannot droop and sleep off. Correct? And the head is connected to the neck and the spine. So the spine has to be, the limbs have to cooperate. The spine has to be straight. And being able to be in a sitting position for 6 hours a day. And in between you have to, catch a walk. Do some yoga. And also some bhoga. And then come back. Correct? And so all this is very important. The limbs, certain limbs have to be active, certain others have to be not active. Like what? The mouth should not be active. If the mouth is active during Vedanta class, then go back to the popcorn example. Swaha. Or you feel like mouthing off. I don't agree with anything that you're saying, or whatever it is. So certain limbs have to be chup, quiet. And certain limbs have to be actively engaged. So therefore the prayer is very physicalized. So Bhadram Shrinayama Devaha. How do you hear? With my ears, with our ears. So therefore it should actually be Karnaihi, or if you want dual, Karnabhyam. But we are not going to correct the Veda when it says Karnebhihi. We say Chandasam, poetic license. So with the ears, so the ears are the instrument of hearing. And the ears which are the instrument of hearing, may they be cleared out of all the wax built up. What kind of wax? Gossip, wrong, ideas, wrong influences, all this build up. May the ears be as clean as a whistle to be able to let in Bhadram. Bhadram has two meanings. On the relative level, auspicious. It's like, see, hear nothing that is wrong. Hear only the good things. See only the good things. We have that mantra also. What is that? Not another Shanti mantra. So, Swasti Prajabhyam, somewhere it comes that may everyone see only the good in everyone. Yeah. Bhadrani Pashyantu. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. That same Bhadram. Bhadram, Bhadre, Bhadrani. Plural, that's all. That same Bhadram, there Pashyantu, may they see only that which is Bhadram, auspicious. Here, may we hear what is only that is auspicious. Why we start with the hearing? Because this is very central to Vedanta, because you have to sit and you have to be able to listen, you have to be able to hear. And there cannot be any interference. So it has two meanings. One on the relative level of preparation. How do I prepare myself to be an appropriate student so that the knowledge does take place? I learned only to listen to that which is auspicious. The inauspicious things I just let go of. So that means I'm in denial? No, that's not what it means. That means I don't give it the time of day. Any kind of nefarious things that I hear, I don't engage in it, I don't fuel it, I don't foment it. And then that is a relative meaning in terms of preparation. And it's also a prayer that may I always listen to only that which is auspicious. What's the most auspicious thing? Bhagavan. Brahman. Bhagavan is the most auspicious thing. And so may I only be listening to Vedanta. This is a prayer. May I only listen to Vedanta. May there be no obstacle for me to listen to this. May heavy metal not come into the picture. Yeah. And so there be no distraction, because so many Bhadrams are there. That's why we have to take it as the relative and the absolute. Because you can get caught up in relative Bhadrams. I'm only listening to shlokas. They are auspicious, wonderful. But you have to graduate to understanding the meanings of the shlokas, which is really pointing to Bhagavan, which is the truth of you, which is your source, which is non-separate from you. That is what is the understanding. So it opens with a very beautiful thing. Bhadram karnebhihi shrunuyama devaha. Then same thing with a sight. Bhadram pashyema akshabhihi. With our eyes may we see only that which is auspicious. And you know what? Here the prayer is, may whatever I see be converted to that which is auspicious. Because you can't be in charge of hearing and seeing only auspicious things. You may be walking on the road, minding your own business, and you see one accident. Somebody gets hurt, God forbid, but you see one accident. You didn't will to see it. So how can you say, if you don't have control over what you hear and what you see, how can you say only may I see the auspicious things? Just now I saw something inauspicious, That the prayer is, may whatever I see be converted into that which is, ultimately and totally auspicious. How? How can the accident be converted into that which is auspicious? Because then I start looking at it differently. And it becomes a blessing, because you know why? Because when this intention is there, that may this be an auspicious event, it turns out very well at the end. My commitment, because you see that limitless in which I am included. So in a way, on the relative level, there are so many ways in which my intention influences, because my intention becomes a prayer. May this be auspicious. May this not end badly. May this be auspicious. So not only do I see only the auspicious things, I convert everything that I see into that which is auspicious. I'm incapable of seeing anything wrong. This is the prayer. And here the address is Yajatraha. What is Yajatraha? Yajantam trayante yaha Yajatraha. Yeah. Yajantam means upon being invoked, those who protect, they are called Yajatraha. Very beautiful word for those shining beings, which are the forces who are connected directly to the source, which is Bhagavan. Connected or manifestations of that very force, which is Bhagavan. And so that source here the sources, because the sources means the presiding deities of the eyes and the ears, are called Yajatraha. Because otherwise they are chup, they are keeping quiet. Only when do they protect? Only when they are invoked. Yeah. They are not just, giving the protection just like that. Only when they are invoked. Yajantam, when you invoke them, then trayante, yaha, those who protect upon being invoked, Yajatraha, another name for Bhagavan. And then after the Jnanendriyas means the organs, the sense organs have been purified through the first line. The second line is looking at the organs of actions, which we will see after the break. I forgot to mention this. I have uploaded a kind of a rudimentary version of this prayer. If you haven't seen it, you can please download it. It is somewhere there. Oh, I don't see it here. Huh? No, I just did it. What happened to that? Amrita Bindu Upanishad. It's called Amrita Bindu Upanishad Shanti Patha. I really did it. I know I saw it there too. Suddenly it is gone.
Refresh needs refreshing.
Oh, invocatory prayer. Is it there? Did you find it? Oh, thank God it is there. Yeah, there it is. Yes. Yeah, because I was looking under A, but it was somewhere else. Yes, so please you can download that if you haven't downloaded that. Thank you for helping me out. Yeah. So we'll take a short break just to be able to make sure that we are still alive, and then and then come back. Okay? Yeah. All right. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah. Just move your hands and legs and we'll come back.